Are you incentivizing your revenue generating team in a way that's actually going to move the needle and align with your business goals this year? Bryant Krieger, who's the founder of Optimize, is a RevOps and compensation planning specialist who's going to break it all down for us today.
A truly scalable incentive plan is just as important as having scalable processes and functions for when that business is starting to grow. Salespeople are smart. They're going to find the easiest path for them to make money. And you want to make sure that that path aligns with the objectives of the company. Incentive pay generally isn't a part of the overall planning process. It's more of a like, oh, we have our plan, we have our budget, now let's fit this in.
We're joined by RevOps guru, founder of Optimize, and an absolute boss at helping companies figure out, unpack, and build better systems for their comp plans. So, for salespeople, welcome, Bryant.
Thank you. It's truly my pleasure to be here. Looking forward to this conversation. And yeah, just excited to share what I've learned over my time of doing this and what excites me about the comp and incentive world.
We met on LinkedIn. Like, hey, you're in RevOps. Let's have like a coffee chat. And both of us got so lit up and energized as soon as you told me. Actually, I'm specialized in figuring out comp plans and setting up the systems. Our eyes both went, let's turn this into an episode. But how did you start Optimize? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, it's one of those. I feel like it's similar to my actual story from a RevOps perspective, in terms of it kind of just fell into place. Certain things are like items that I've always had in my mind, like down the road, I want to do these types of things or whatever it might be. But the timing has never been my timing. Things have always just kind of fallen into place. Like from a RevOps perspective, I did not go to college to do RevOps. I did not even know RevOps, sales ops, anything like that existed while I was in college. And it wasn't until I had a boss a little over 10 years ago that came to me and was like, hey, we're standing up this department. I want you to run this department. I've seen what you can do. This is going to be like what you are going to thrive at. And I was like, sure, whatever you say, let me figure this thing out. And I could not, as I like reflect on it, could not agree more with him when it comes to that. Something I quickly fell in love with. It allowed me to use like both a scientific and an art side of things. And it just became something that I had a true passion for. I was willing to spend time outside of work to learn how to get better, to see what people are doing, to talk with people about it, and continue to grow my career. And then I had the opportunity, because of reorg that took place at a startup that I was at, to start helping out some of the network that I had met throughout the years. And again, just fell in love with the ability to help out multiple people, kind of more on a fractional perspective, to be able to bring the expertise that I've learned over the years to those people, to really dive in with a few people here and there, while also continuing to do the stuff that I love, which one of those is the incentive pay side of things. And so like for me, Optimize kind of, it came about because I had an opportunity to do it and I fell in love with it. The same way that RevOps for me came about because someone was like, hey, I think you'll really like this. And I fell in love with it. And so for me, Optimize is almost one of those, like it's a passion project that's always been there in my mind. The timing of when it's happened hasn't been there, but it's like each time that I find like something else, I'm like, oh, this would be fun. It's like, no, I love what I'm doing. I love having conversations with people. I love being able to like hear multiple things and just bring a little bit of insight into kind of what's going on. And then especially as I've been able to dig into and talk with people more about incentive pay, it's one of those, there's so much there that you can unpack, so much there that is frankly missed when it comes to it, and little things that you can do to make it truly a growth driver for the business and to really leverage it for the sales reps to not only incentivize them in the right way, but to really just put the foundation for the business ready to scale. Like a truly scalable incentive plan is just as important as having scalable processes and functions for when that business is starting to grow. And so that's really what optimize is all about. Like, we're going to come in, we're going to help you like truly optimize what you have from an incentive perspective, then dig into further stuff down the line. I have a partner at Optimize who specializes in like process optimization. And so it's one of those, they go hand in hand as we get in and start digging into incentive pay. Let's start there. And then, hey, let's also dig into your flows and the process. What technology are you using? And for us, it just kind of brings us the joy that we get. And we love to really help those companies get to that scaling point where they're ready to bring on a full time person and continue to see that growth of their success.
We kind of glossed over it at the very beginning, like, oh, he's in RevOps. But what is it's a fast growing field, a lot of titles you'll see RevOps, RevOps. What does that actually mean for a business owner or a revenue leader?
Yeah, definitely a lot. I mean, you have like sales ops, you have rev ops, you now have go to market ops. Like you have a lot of these different things. And for me, what I've always come down to is for me, rev ops, it is kind of the back end of everything that is revenue touching. So think of the operations between sales, marketing, customer success, and then major dotted lines to product, to finance, to really just the regular ops of the business. And so it becomes a holistic, like almost company ops, but the main focus is going to be in like, what does the operations take to run an efficient, scalable sales org? What can you do in order to make sure that sales and marketing are functioning together? Sales and customer success are functioning together. And again, like I said, those major dotted lines where it's not necessarily a direct reporting structure, but it is you better have a good built-in relationship with your head of product, your head of finance, because everything that you do is going to be so important to make sure that the right information from those main core teams are going to get to those other people as well to make sure that you're taking care of your customers and that the business is ready to scale.
That was a great explanation of RevOps across the board. It's not a little tiny silo over here. It's touching all the bits and all the
It
pieces.
is. It's the kind of it's the glue slash hammer that breaks down the silos but keeps everything together.
It's fun. And it is a balance of that creative and analytical side of the brain.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. There's an art and a science that goes with it, which is like I can reflect back to my childhood and see like that was always a part of me and why I probably fell in love with RevOps from the get go is the ability to use what just naturally came to me as a child.
I like when those things work out. When someone finds their passion and they get to get paid for it. That's the best.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
so I've been a salesperson, I've been a sales manager, I've been a leader of the revenue team. Incentive pay is different at every company. But what do you see as the biggest issue, no matter the size of the business or the type of industry? What's a big issue that all companies are kind of having with incentive pay?
Yeah. The main one that I see and the main one that we from an optimized perspective kind of hone in on and to identify first and foremost is does your incentive pay, your commissions, regardless of who it's for, whether it's for sales, customer success, whatever it might be, does their plan actually align to what the business wants to do? A lot of times what we've experienced is that you'll build these great plans on how the business is going to scale. You'll put together your 2025 plan, soon to be your 2026 plan of how you're going to get from X to Y to Z in terms of revenue, whatever it might be. And then you get that all approved. Everybody's excited about it. And then you kind of like, oh, yeah, we got to put together an incentive plan. We're just going to do this. Like I've done this in the past. It's worked in the past. And what you don't realize is that, like, oh, this incentive plan, we're paying our like salespeople to go out there and sign up new business. No like qualifications around it, just sign up new business. Well, the objective of the company in that year is to really, again, continue to growth, but to do it more from like an expansion of the install base perspective. And so when you're telling them to sign up business and that's all that they're doing, like things don't align. And so you might be like, "Oh, well, people are killing it out here, but yet we're still behind on our plan," or like it just things don't align. And so you end up getting like these kind of like little loopholes in a sense. Salespeople are smart. They're going to find the easiest path for them to make money. And you want to make sure that that path aligns with the objectives of the company when it comes to it. And so you might all of a sudden have 1,800 new companies that you need to deal with, when in reality, that wasn't part of the plan. You're scrambling to see, and they might not even be the right ICP that the company really wants to go after. But hey, those people did what they were incentivized to do. And so for us, it's truly about getting to know the company first and foremost, getting to know the company on a whole. What are they doing? Do they have a new product that's about ready to get laid out that isn't even a part of the plan, but it's a huge part of the company goal? That, hey, we want to roll out this new product and we expect it to be able to grow in, like, it's rolling out end of Q1. So in 3 quarters, we still expect it to be able to bring in $1 million of revenue. Well, if there's no incentive from like the sales team to go and do it, and it's a new and different sale, and it's going to be a little bit harder than they can go and find revenue somewhere else, it doesn't align. And then you're always asking, well, did we make an issue with the product? And you're like, well, we don't actually know because we don't have any feedback from customers, because we don't have customers. And that's where the dotted lines, the alignment across all the businesses that RevOps is so important to do, comes huge into play. And that for us is the main thing that we focus in. There's other items in terms of, like, you got to keep it simple. The complexities of a plan can derail even the alignment that might be there. And so, but first and foremost, you got to get it aligned. Understand what the business wants to do. Make sure that you're incentivizing the right behaviors to drive that for the business. And then after that, you can get into a little bit more of the granular stuff of, like, does my rep even understand it? Can they look at a deal and understand whether or not they're going to make money off of it? Like, how are we incentivizing them to make sure that they make money off of it? And really dive into a little bit more of the nitty gritty. But for us, it's always focused first and foremost on, does it align to what the company is trying to do?
What would hold a company, or why do so many companies have these misalignment issues, or why would they overcomplicate plans?
I think for me, what I've seen and what I've talked with people about, kind of alluded to it a little bit at the beginning, is it's not that it's purposely forgotten, but it's not, like, incentive pay isn't a part of, or generally isn't a part of the overall planning process. It's more of a, like, oh, we have our plan, we have our budget, now let's fit this in. And sometimes that's more of a square peg into a round hole, instead of realizing as you're building the plan that you're going to need a square peg to get in, or a round peg to get into that round hole, whatever it might be. And so it's almost one of those of, like, it's kind of an afterthought, or the other parts that come with it is, and this is where RevOps can really come in, especially with the building of the relationship, is the incentive plan is designed by finance, never talking to, like, the revenue org. And so then again, square peg, round hole a lot of times. And that is usually also where things can sometimes get a little complicated, is when it's designed by somebody who isn't a part of, or isn't getting the feedback from the people that are actually dealing with it. And that's where they're like, oh, well, we can do this thing where if we can, they're like, we'll incentivize them to bring in multi-year contracts, and we'll throw this on there, and we'll throw this on, whatever the little things might be. And you start getting to where there's like 15 different components that a salesperson has to be like, okay, well, if I sell product A along with a combination of products C and X, then I get a 3X multiplier if they do a 3-year contract. And you're like, what's happening here? Like, what products do we even want to sell? Do those even bundle together? And so that's where some of the complications can be. And for us, it's just more of, like, bring it in early. Like, when you start off that whole, I know for some companies, they're starting that 26 planning and conversations now. Incentive pay, review of what's worked, conversations with the frontline individuals as well as managers should be happening. Conversations with legal, conversations with HR, because sometimes they hear stuff that you don't hear. All of those things should be a part of the process and should be built into this initial kind of, like, how are we going to perform in 2026? What are the objectives of 2026? And then does what we've had in the past, if it's working, does it still work? Are there small tweaks that we need to make in order to align with what our objectives are? Or does it need a bigger wholesale change? And then truly at the end of the day is in today's world, as much as companies change very, very quickly, sometimes their comp plans have to change very, very quickly as well. And to make sure that you're evaluating the comp plan, it's never a like, hey, we did it. Now we don't have to do it again until the next year. There should always be a review in that process as well, in terms of, are we still getting what we're looking for? Does the bell curve on performance match the bell curve from a payout perspective? Does it match what we believe should be the payout at this time? Accelerators, decelerators, too rich in either direction? Are we motivating the right items, the right behaviors as they're going through? Like, is product telling us like, hey, we're going to have a delay on something, so maybe we need to make an adjustment because we thought we were going to have a second half rollout, and that's now not going to be until Q4, but we still have to find ways to like make up that pay from an incentive perspective. So it's got to be one of those where it's constantly not necessarily evolving, because you don't want major changes, because as a salesperson, I'm sure you did not like whenever major changes took place, but you got to make sure that you are looking at it to put the best plan in front of a rep as possible, making sure that they understand how they're going to make money amongst all of these business changes that are happening.
I've been at places where they wouldn't tell you, and I had the plan. I had put the plan together and was waiting for approval from all these departments, and they wouldn't approve it until like the second of the month. And I said, "You can't. That's not how you treat a salesperson. They're already taking less up front, right? They're already risking a lot to have this incentive pay, and they're out there in the front lines. You got to at least tell them how they're going to make money that month. Like you got to at least you can't wait till mid-month to say, "Here's your goal for this month." It's not acceptable. So, yes, if you're planning your 2026, start early. If you're worried about people sandbagging their Q4 so that they have a good Q1, maybe you need different sales reps. Like a really good sales rep's not going to sandbag. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, and that's where like for the way that I've done it when I've seen the most success for that particular thing is like it becomes a part of the planning process, and there's high level conversations with a salesperson. Like I have never advocated for, don't like to see a salesperson getting next year's quota before this year ends. Like, hey, your job is to hit what we're aiming for this year. But believe me not, like we had everything queued up. The new year rang in at 12:01 a.m. Everybody got their emails. And so if they were up, I mean, we got questions about it immediately, being like, oh, okay, so on the second, can we have a call about this? I have a question. And that's where like they also knew like, hey, here are some changes that might be coming to the comp plan. You'll get it on this date for your review, all of those types of things. But the details of it, again, yeah. So some people will sandbag, especially if they've done well and they're like, oh, I see that the multiplier is a little bit higher next year or whatever. And so that's where like the fine details of things I like to roll out day one, whatever that day one might be from a fiscal year perspective. But in order for that to happen, you have to bring it along in the process that you're taking in order to hit what the board, whoever might need in terms of how are you going to operate in your next fiscal year.
So you've done the planning. The planning's done. It's just flipping the switch where you give the, hey, here's the number. So it's not a huge, your comp plan isn't completely different. The way you're going to make money and feed your family is not completely different without some sort of warning for the reps.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. Any major changes have to have like it has to be communicated. It has to allow people time to digest what they just learned. That like you can't expect somebody to be able to be like, hey, instead of doing X, Y, and Z, you now need to do A, B, C in order to earn money, and for them to not lose momentum that they might be carrying out of Q4 into Q1. Or like, hey, they had companies that are like, hey, we're not doing it Q1, but we're going to do it Q4. And you want them to continue and hit those things right away. Any major changes need to have a conversation. You need to allow people time to digest, to ask questions, and so on. Little tweaks and stuff like that, you can again plan those, get them ready to go, and flip the switch, and people will be happy. They'll be running right out of the gates and go making some good money.
Do you have any examples of when a small tweak, either more or less, changed performance and changed morale for a sales org?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably I have it from both sides. So it was a BDR plan, and we were working with the BDR plan. The way that the main focus of the BDR plan was is that they were paid on sales qualified leads. So they would do their work. They thought they had somebody sent over. They would get in contact and do a warm transfer to a sales rep. The sales rep would then go and be like, hey, go through their due diligence and mark it either as a yes or a no. And that's where majority of their stuff came from. So in conversations that we were having, people were like, I don't really like the idea of like, I get a little bit if it's more of a quality lead, meaning that it actually went all the way through the process and purchased our product. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. And we're like, okay, like the feedback, everybody were saying leadership was all like, hey, we don't like that part. So we're like, fine, we'll take it out. What we immediately saw, not, I guess wouldn't be immediate, what we saw over the course of time is that we created a new least path of resistance for people to make money. And the quality of what was being sent over wasn't as good. It still qualified from a sales qualified lead perspective to get paid, but we weren't converting as much. And so then we had to look at it more from a holistic business perspective, made that tweak mid year, saw the conversion rates go up, salespeople became happy. And really, at the end of the day, the BDRs also realize that, like, hey, when my salespeople are happy, then I actually get more things through because the salespeople became really scrutinizing those leads and they were actually losing money on it. And so just that small little tweak where it's like, hey, have a little piece, like it's a quality thing where like, hey, you can earn some of what this new customer is going to bring in to the business. Like go find truly qualified people who want our product. And it was a fascinating early on in my career to watch just a small little switch because we were like, everybody was telling us we don't want this part anymore. So we were like, we're doing the right thing. We're listening to people, turned it off without having more of a bigger picture on like what could the results be and talking to people outside of just the BDR team. And then once we saw the results, putting it back. And kind of funny is those same people that were telling us, hey, we don't like this, they came back and were like, thank you so much for bringing this back. Like leaders were super happy that they brought it. They're like, we were having a strain in the relationship between those departments. And bringing that little piece back helped rebuild the bridge. Things got better. And at the end of the day, the really good BDRs earned so much money and more money in the second half of the year just because of that little extra tweak than they ever had. So it was a fun experience, something again that I definitely took, I learned from because it's one of those of like making sure that you're not just solely focused on like one team and the tweaks that you can make to one team, but understanding again, going back to the business and what are the business objectives and what are the impacts that one small change could even have either upstream or even downstream.
Have you seen any tweaks where a company goes from full cycle sales? So this is someone who's cold calling, getting their own leads. They do the sale. And then once it's a customer, they still glom on and take care of that customer and get commission for them for the rest of their lives. Switching from that model to a more fragmented, you sell it and you pass it over to someone else who takes care of them and then makes the money from them.
Yeah, that's a tough change to make. I haven't personally done that myself. I've like had conversations from just a like, hey, can I brainstorm something with you, like per se. The the key to that I've always kind of leaned into when I've had those conversations is truly making sure that when you're making this change that you've identified those people who like they're going to be the hunter. That's all they want to do. And they kind of have been pushing off their, in a sense, success side of continuing the relationship with the business to somebody else, or they've neglected it. Like, let those people like go out and hunt, and then making sure that you've identified people who can be more of the nurturing relationship building side of the success. Putting people in areas where you know they can be successful is going to be huge. And then the other big part when it comes to it goes back to, that's a major shift in like comp and how I earn. And the key is being able to walk somebody who, let's say they've been earning 100K in commissions over those years. And they're going to care about is, how do I get to that same number? How can I get to more of that number? And so if you can walk them through the idea of like, hey, you get to this number if you bring on 10 new clients a month at this ASP. And they're like, and you show them the numbers of like, hey, last year you actually brought on 12 clients a month and your ASP was just slightly lower than what it needs to be. You did that by making these types of calls. And guess what? You're now going to have time to make more calls to those outbound type of calls or whatever it might be, because you're no longer going to have to deal with the account management side of things. And being able to walk them through the changes and ultimately get to the number that they're expecting to get to, that's how you sell that big change. Because again, it's going to be a huge change. It's a tough one, because at the end of the day, the biggest thing is making sure that you have the right people in the right space. Because I've seen it happen. I've people have come to me and they're like, what happened? Why isn't this working? And it's like, well, this person doesn't, they just want to go out. They want to go out and find somebody, but you're trying to tell them they need to do account management and so on. And like other people are like, I don't want to do anything from like a lead gen perspective. And so they're unwilling to do those things. They're going to just wait on everything, only do a few. Their pipelines are going to be small. And so putting the people in the right place from a skills perspective is the biggest part to any big shift like that, where you're going from, hey, you do everything, to now you only are doing a small portion. And then being able to explain, while yes, you're only doing a small portion, you can still earn the same amount. And we're giving you more time to go and do what you do best.
I have lived through this, and there was a lot of resistance with people who were, what do they call it? Like a fat cat. If they have a lot of accounts that they're just getting commission on for the lifetime of the deal and they don't really need to do anything else, they don't like these changes. So
Oh
this is,
yes, yeah.
but
They don't like those changes at all. Yeah, especially that group. And again, it's more of like sitting down with each of them one on one and being like, what do you actually want to do? Like, where do you find passion? We'll get you to the same number that you're going to get to. Like, we will find a way for you to make that money. But like, do you want to take care of these customers that you brought on and continue to build those relationships? Or do you want to go out and find new relationships? And again, walking people through how they get to that same dollar amount, that's always going to be key.
what do some of the high growth companies you've worked with get right about their incentives?
Yeah. I mean, it always comes back to, so I was at a freight and logistics tech company. One of the funnest years that I've had from a comp design perspective. We did a major overhaul in terms of the process. The changes, the plans themselves didn't really actually change that much, but the process of how we did it, in terms of, once we started planning for that year's objectives, we started planning comp. We were a part of every conversation. Every model that we built that year included a comp portion of that model. And so we took it, as I kind of suggested, from the beginning as part of the entire process. It wasn't an afterthought. And we made little tweaks. We were like, we think things are going to go well. Macroeconomics coming from that team were like, yes, the industry is right for us to do well. We put some pretty aggressive like goals in place. I think the board wanted us to have like a 30 to 35% growth that year. And again, we were able, because of that entire process, we were able to align every behavior throughout the different steps of the process into everything was going to drive to our end goal of that growth, in different ways that led to great behavior. like not only did we have probably the best year in terms of overall performance, because we ended up growing, I think, at like 45 or 50% that year, but it was the most exciting in terms of like the reps understood their comp plans. The reps could see the steps that they were taking, how that impacted their comp plans. The reps were then, obviously, because things were going well, were able to see like, I do a little bit more, like things are going really well. If I do a little bit more, like I'm getting into those multipliers, I'm seeing the success, I'm doing those things. And so it was one of those of like, again, winning played a big part of that, like seeing the business win overall. But like we won from a comp perspective because even the next year, like again, we continued those same things, did that same process. The macroeconomic side of things weren't as much in our favor. We had some major headwinds we had to battle, but the reps still understood the comp plan and the like questioning of like, what are you doing with this comp? Like, I'm not making enough. Those things kind of disappeared because they saw and understood of like, hey, the little metrics that they're showing us, like, I'm going to have to do a little bit more. Like, that our conversion isn't as high. Like things are definitely happening. We're talking macroeconomics from a high level, from the head of the CEO on down. We all know these headwinds exist. They didn't question the comp plan as much. And so like to watch both instances in that in terms of you use that whole process, allowing you to really dig in and explain things to your reps and their behaviors being able to show the impact that they're having, that was the most success that I've seen and have had, not only on the exciting, hey, we grew by 50% and people were ecstatic, but also like, hey, when we missed our mark the following year, I think the next year we only grew by like 25% and they wanted another 30 to 35%. But people were still like, they understood from a comp perspective, which is ultimately what I try to get to, is like reps that can understand the behaviors start to change. They start to see, I do a little bit more. I have an opportunity to earn a little bit more. And they're never questioning, is this deal even going to pay me?
Since you've switched into this line of work over time, has your view on motivation and how to, in other areas of your life, has your view on performance and motivation changed from this work?
I mean,
Like motivating your
absolutely.
child or motivating any sort of motivating yourself?
Absolutely. It's one of those where obviously from like an incentive pay commission perspective, we're dealing with money. Like that's a big part of it. However, though, money isn't everything to everybody. And that's a key part of it as well. And I talk with sales leaderships about that as well, is like, hey, I'm going to design a plan from an incentive pay perspective that's going to help you get there. But that's not the end game. Because for some people, you can put it out there and they're just going to be like, that doesn't do much for me. Like, so it's really about getting to know your people. I do it with my children. It's like getting to know my children, like what motivates them. I have one child who I can be like, hey, I'll give you $20 to go do this. They don't care. They don't want anything. But if I say, hey, I'll go buy you a pack of basketball cards, which is going to cost me less than $20, but it's something that they want right now, they're very motivated to go and get it done. And so being able to build a relationship with each of the sales reps to understand what is valuable to them at that moment. Obviously, everybody needs that paycheck in order to pay bills and stuff like that. Sometimes that's not what really motivates them. Being able to be like, hey, if you hit these numbers this go around, we just got approval that you guys can all have one more day of PTO. Like, and it's not going to hurt you. Like, we'll do quota relief, whatever it might be. It's a true free day of PTO. Like, I've seen those things go crazy. I've also seen little contests where it's like, hey, we'll buy you uh, a Wii or whatever it might be, and people go crazy. Like they're like, I want this thing, but I'm never willing to spend my own money for it. But if I get it as a prize, like it's something I want for sure. My kids are gonna love it, whatever it might be. But they're like, and so there's it's one of those of like, for me, it's always like I look at myself and I'm like, okay, well, what's motivating me right now? Like ultimately, like what's driving my factor? Like if I can find ways to spend more time with family and stuff like that, like that's way more motivating than money is, as long as I can pay my bills. but also at the same time, I want to go do fun things with my family, so I want more money to do it. So it's one of those for me. It's like a mix right now. But like for my kids, it's like I have another child who's like very money motivated, and it's like I tell him to go do something. It's like, oh, hey, like, yep, and he's gonna save it until probably he's 65 and never have spent a dime that he made as a child. Like it's just who he is. Um, but yes, like I don't think I would look like so individually at people and try to understand almost the psychology of that individual and what motivates them if I had not spent years doing this and years digging into and trying to understand, well, why did this motivate this person but not motivate this person? So yeah, it definitely has made an impact for me.
So when you set up the plan, not every single sales rep's going to have a different comp plan. But as a manager or leader, you can do fun spiffs or these PTO days or things to hit the people who don't just care about the money.
Correct. Yeah. I'm a big believer in having a spiff line item in the budget to have those little contests, like to help drive like just little changes that you need to make, little behavioral items. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to try not to develop an individualized plan for everybody. That gets a pretty complicated.
Mhm.
You know, I have seen it be successful though, but really the plans themselves, like that's a part of like, hey, I'm signing up at this company. I'm willing to risk potentially 50 or more percent of my on target earnings because I believe I can earn whatever that amount is. And so making sure that they believe that they can earn that amount and how they can get there, that's what these plans are going to be designed to do. And then, yeah, if you can find little ways to encourage people along the way and understand what they're doing and develop little contests to drive those things, it's amazing what those things can do and how you can, through time, throughout the year, with those little tiny things, really start to motivate multiple people. And I also love the idea of short term little contests. Obviously, incentive pay is over the long haul of a year. And so if you can, especially in today's day and age with kind of that instant gratification that we see through technology, you can develop these little short games. It can be a huge win for the teams.
I loved them when I could get a little like $25 gift card. I would stack them up and then I'd go, now I'm going to go to this restaurant I've wanted to try or something. It was just a fun little extra.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those of like the incentive money, like because it comes in through payroll, it's a part of budget. The other stuff that you get, the gift cards, stuff like that, all of a sudden it's like, hey, that's not part of my budget. I can go and splurge on going to this restaurant or doing whatever it might be that needs to. I can go buy a new video game because I got it, whatever. Like it's helping people to stay outside their normal budget. I know that that's a huge motivator for me sometimes. It's like, hey, oh, I can do this. It's not in my budget. Yep, let's go do it.
It's in the fun fund.
Yes,
It's good to have
absolutely.
one of those. You've worked with big companies, small companies. Do they need a lot of technology to get this right?
Technology is great for two reasons. And when I help a company evaluate technology, the main two things that I focus on, like obviously you want something to help and automate and to free up bandwidth and stuff like that from an admin perspective. But that shouldn't be what your ultimate goal is from a technology perspective. You want visibility and transparency into your plan so that people again can understand, can see how they are developing and building up into what their incentive pay might be. So no, you don't need technology to do that right. To me, technology just, it becomes a multiplier of the growth that a good incentive plan can build. You can still have transparency and visibility without it. It just is delayed because it's not like real time. It's not in a system. It's not automated per se. And so, yeah, it's great. It doesn't have to be there. At the end of the day, it's more about, again, plan design, people understanding, matching with the business objectives, and communicating those things out. And then whether that kind of transparency and visibility is a little bit delayed because it's more of a manual process, or if it's real time because you have software, um, as long as you have it in some way, shape, or form. And you're answering that question of like, okay, do they have the visibility to understand how they're getting paid on every single deal? And do they have the transparency into the plan to understand how what calculations went into to what? Those are going to be the big part of it. And so I've done both. I've implemented software to really help speed things up. I've been able to help companies go from 3 weeks to process commissions down to like 3 days because of software and getting those automations and those syncs and stuff like that together. But I've also like built some really cool plans that are being done 100% through Excel. And I've also helped people build plans. And it's like, hey, you built it. Can you execute on it for us? And we absolutely will from an optimized perspective. It's like, hey, if you want to free up bandwidth and you just want somebody else to execute on your plan, help design your plan, like we're more than happy and willing to help out with that as well.
Because you have so much expertise and you've been doing this for a while, can you look at someone's plan after a few months and suggest, hey, we're seeing these trends, maybe coach in this part of the pipeline or some other things that the data is telling you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean that is something that we do quite often is we will do full on plan audits and really take a look. And again, for us, it comes back down to is we're going to start by like, hey, give us your information from a plan perspective. Let's take a look at that. But also, like, we're going to have a sit down. We're going to try to understand like what does the business want to do? What are your objectives? What are your end goals that the business is being measured on that define success for the business? And then it's like, do these things even align? Asking us ourselves that those questions of like, do these things align? It's like, okay, well, the business, one of their main focus is churn. Okay, well, everybody's getting paid for new logos only. And it's like, nobody cares about the customers that are on hand. So let's make those tweaks or whatever, or just even like bringing in the data, historical data, and kind of visualizing it from a comp perspective and seeing how things are laying from a performance to a bell curve and then also a payout bell curve can kind of tell you like how well did you set quotas, how well like people are performing, like, and then digging in deeper, like working with each of the kind of more frontline leaders and being like, hey, you have 3 people that are doing great, one person that's doing poor. Like, let's dig into that. Are there activity differences? Are there ways that you can coach them up? What are making these people successful? Is it a territory redesign that has to happen from a business perspective because that person just doesn't have what it is that the territory needs to be successful? And so we definitely can do that. Like that's part of, for me, the ongoing like review of a comp plan that we talked about a little while ago. Is that's all part of it, is understanding and seeing those little tweaks that you can have, utilizing comp plan to be a coaching aspect, using comp to help drive questions in other areas that maybe you're missing because you don't see the correlation to that comp. Yeah, I love coming in and digesting those and sitting down and building out plans on how you might be able to do stuff differently. And ultimately, usually it's about getting stuff aligned back again to the company objectives. What are they shooting for in that time period?
Are there any misconceptions or myths out there about the work that you do that you'd want to set clear up?
I would say probably the the biggest one that I always have to emphasize, because I think sometimes because you are the one that's dealing with comp, you're the one that's kind of designing things, you're the one that's putting the SOPs and the processes together. You're looked at as being kind of the bad guy because it's like, you didn't do this. Like, this is the process. You've known about this process. Like, this doesn't qualify. Like, or like, people are like, hey, when you round up, I get into this next tier of whatever. And it's like, well, you still didn't hit it though. I can't just round up for one person type of thing. And so for me, I think is like, my goal is always to make a salesperson as much as I possibly can within the limits of what that business can do. Like, I can't come in and just be like, oh, we're going to pay every AE $1 million, because like a business isn't going to be successful. So it's the balance of like, how do you make the business successful while also allowing people to earn as much as they possibly can. And that, like, ultimately, yes, I'm going to follow the rules that we've put in place, but I truly at heart want salespeople to earn more than what they could ever expect. So for me, it's always like I truly am like on the side of sales, even though I'm gonna say no to things. And for me, that's always just it's a funny conversation when I come in and I help people out or whatever. Or even in the past, I've always like, yeah, nobody on sales likes me just because I'm the comp person. I'm the one that's saying no to their like, oh, can you round up this time? No, like it's not gonna happen. Can you make an exception here? No. And they're like, well, you're costing me money. And it's like, I'm not costing you anything. It's pretty black and white on what you can make money on, what you can't make money on. And so for me, that's one of, I feel like it's kind of a myth or a misconception is that RevOps people, especially on the comp side of things, don't care about sales. They're only there for the business. It's like at the end of the day, I want people to make a ton of money. I want them to be so successful that they're just loving everything that comes with it. But again, it's got to be that balance of company and individual.
Just from the stories you've told today, it sounds like every time that there's the sales is crushing it, the entire company culture's crushing it. So you would
Yes.
want them to do well, make more, and have a good time.
Yes. And I mean, and even when the company holistically maybe isn't doing well, if one individual is doing well, hey, I want them to go and make a ton of money. Like you're crushing it. You're playing within the bounds that the company has agreed upon. Go crush it. Like if you as an individual can go crush it, because at the end of the day, like winning brings on more winning. And so if you can see it, you can start analyzing like, well, what is making this person successful? What type of relationship are they building with their customers? Start listening to calls, doing all those types of things. Like you can learn so much for that. And so like you can motivate one person to be successful and to continue to crush it. And again, fall within the rails of how things are supposed to be done and don't do anything fraudulently, then hey, everything's gonna go well.
This has been a very fun conversation. I know that we could keep going on for like 3 more hours about comp and all the designs behind the scenes. If you could leave someone with one takeaway, say it's their first comp plan that they're ever building, or they're about to build a new one for 2026, what would be a piece of advice you'd give them?
Yeah. I mean, I would say three main things. Start early, like make it a part of the entire process in terms of the building out of 2026. Keep it simple, like really no more than like three components that go into any one individual team's plan. Like keep it really simple to where they can understand what's going on and then match those company objectives. Find a way that those components that you're pulling in tie into what the company is being graded on. You do those things in terms of starting early, all of that. I think you'll have an opportunity to build a really cool, successful plan that salespeople can really get their minds around and be successful with. Those main things. And then also, at the end of the day, if you need help, like, don't be afraid to ask. Like, I'm happy to jump on calls with anybody just for a brainstorm, happy to come in and do audits, whatever it might be from those plans. So feel free to ask if you're looking to get something like that done.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun. This has been fun. You'll have fun in your audit. Probably don't think you will, but you will. We'll put the links to reach out to you directly and to optimize in the episode. And I want to thank you again for coming on and we're recording on a Friday, making this Friday in the summer very fun.
Yes. I mean, anything to keep me inside right now in 112-degree weather of Arizona. But yeah, no, this has been great. Always enjoy talking comp with people, incentive pay, whatever you want to call it. This has been phenomenal, and we'll for sure have to do this again.
Sounds great. Talk to you soon.